and welcome to the Collaboration Conversation, a listener-supported video podcast where Christian artists, entrepreneurs, and friends share about their upcoming projects and how they are using the gifts and talents that God has given them. This podcast is made possible through generous listeners and friends like you, and we are so very grateful to our supporters. If you would like to sponsor an episode, you can head over to thecollaborationconversation.org and click Sponsor an Episode. Likewise, if you want to check out or support our nonprofit ministry project Brickworks, head over to projectbrickworks.org. Today, our very special guest is Alan Black. Alan is a radio host, a podcaster, and an author. He has written 2 books, In the Spirit Intended and Here I Am, Lord. He is releasing a 3rd book, Just a Closer Walk, and we are so looking forward to chatting with him today. Alan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Sarah and Diane. It is really an honor to be here with you this afternoon. And I'm excited because you told me before we came on that, Sarah, I think you're in Chattanooga, like your mother lives in Nashville.
Yep.
And I have to admit, I've been to Nashville a couple of times. I've never made to Chattanooga, but I just absolutely love Tennessee. It's so great.
We love it too. And Chattanooga is gorgeous. If you like the outdoors, this is the place to be. Maybe not right now because of the pollen, but... But usually, no more pollen.
Well, we connected on Facebook, and so we don't know you super well. We just would like to hear a little bit about your story, and if you could tell us about you, that would be great.
Well, I am here in the state of Nebraska, in Omaha, Nebraska, which, of course, is geographically smack dab in the middle of the country.
Yep.
And so I have been through an amazing journey over all these years. My actual writing background began really with music. I don't sing and I don't play an instrument, but I'm a lyricist. So I'm the person who works with people in the studio and have done so over the last 30 years or so to create the storyline that you hear in music. So lyrics have always been my real passion as far as what writing is all about. I've been very blessed over the 30-year period or so where I've been able to collaborate in multiple genres over that period, from Christian to R&B to actually country/Americana as well. So that's really what my main passion is. And it still remains to that day. If you gave me a choice between continue to be a writer or an author or to collaborate with artists to create music, it would be to create music.
Yeah.
That's just where I'm at. It's just something about the storylines in music that fascinate me. I'm the nerdy guy that when you hear a song, like one of my favorite songs is Glenn Campbell's Wichita Lineman, which I absolutely love. The storyline, what goes behind it, the delivery of it. I'll sit there and actually have 2 tabs open on my computer. I've got the song playing, and on my other tab, I'm reading the lyrics, even though I already know them.
Yeah.
It's just something about that I connect with and have connected with from the time I was a kid. And I think it comes down to the fact that my father was a huge music fan. So growing up 10, 11, 12 years old, that's what I was exposed to constantly. To your audience, let me assure you of the fact that remote control has always been around, because I was the remote control when I was growing up as a kid. My father would say, get up and turn the
That's
record
right.
over, turn on the TV, come turn the channel, put the new song on. I did it all the time.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So don't think for the newer generation, Sarah, I'm not picking on you, but trust me, remote control has been around for a
long time.
long time. So that's really where the writing bug really started in me. And so having done that for 30, 35 years or so, it still remains my passion. But a really strange thing happened to me in 2015. In 2015, I had just turned 60. And so I had been retired from my job at the university here in my town for a few years. So just working part-time at hotel chain and just kind of doing reservations in the morning from like 6 in the morning till about 11 or 12. And so usually in the mornings, it was very slow. There wasn't really a lot going on. So you're kind of sitting there at your pod area and don't have anything to do. So I'm not that guy who would play games on his phone or stuff like that, or read gossip blogs online or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah.
So I just kind of started freestyling and just started writing down some thoughts and everything that the Holy Spirit began to give to me. And that really what all began for the Christian authorship side. And I have to admit that after I had written like 2 or 3 short essays for my first book, Here I Am, Lord, it really kind of scared me because I had never written in this arena before in my life. And it was frightening to the point where I would write something, Sarah and Diane, and I would write it, a short essay. I might leave my desk and come back 10 minutes later, and I couldn't remember what I wrote. I had no memory of what I wrote. It was almost like an out-of-body experience.
Yeah.
And it scared me. I remember I called a friend of mine who was a pastor, and I was asking him, I was like, what's going on, bro? Because I don't do this. This is not how I function as a writer. And part of my writing is tied to my personality as far as being structured, organized, analytical,
Sure.
and very, very much straight line. So this was taking me into a whole different arena that was very uncomfortable. It was very frightening. And so my friend said, well, God's leading you to do something new, and he's giving you a new assignment. Are you going to be willing to accept it? I said, okay. And I responded exactly that way because I was thinking, I'm not really sure what's going on here.
Yeah.
Right.
So I said, okay, I'll be open. I'm not going to pretend like I jumped up and enthusiastically said, yes, Lord, let's do this thing. And so I just kept writing throughout 2015, and I compiled about 25 of these essays. And I remember I asked a friend of mine, I said, well, I let her read a couple, and she was like, she really liked them. And she said, what are you going to do with them? And I looked at her and I said, I don't know, because I've never done this before. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
So she said, well, why don't you write for a blog? And I said, well, but people who write for blogs are like writers. That's what they do. And so she looked at me and she said, what do you call these things?
Yep.
I said, oh, yeah, I guess you're right. So for the last 2 months or so of 2015, I actually wound up applying I sent out essays to some different blogs around the world, and I didn't get any kind of responses until the very last one I sent to a blog in Singapore called Christian Blessings. And I sent it to the editor, and I'm thinking, okay, she's going to tell me no, and then I could just say, okay, this was a dead end. To my shock, she wrote me back the next day after she had read one of my essays. She said, I really like this, so I want you to write for me every week.
Wow.
Wait a minute. First of all, I don't know what I'm doing. And secondly, I don't know about every week.
Yeah. That's a big undertaking.
Wow, Sarah, I was like, whoa. I said, how about once a month? And so she said, okay, I can accept that. So she told me, for January 2016, this is what I want you to write. She said, I want you to write something that is tied to the beginning of a new year. And she said it has to be at least 300 words for me to publish it. And I was thinking, oh man, what am I going to come up with? And for me, 300 words in my mind, I was thinking may well have been 10,000 words because I just did not see how I could do it.
Yeah.
So I struggled, and the deadline was December 31st, 2015. I'll never forget that as long as I live. And about December 27th, I'm driving home, And they were playing this song on the radio we've all heard called Old Lang Syne.
Yeah.
And in that song, again, this is my lyrical side. Part of the lyrics talk about will old acquaintances be forgotten. And it hit me. I said, that's it. Ran home and wrote my first essay for Christian Blessings called Old Acquaintances. And it's in my first book, Here I Am, Lord. And the theme of that is, as we begin a new year, just as we began 2022, what are the old acquaintances that you want to forget and put behind you?
Mm-hmm.
Are they the kind of things like a bad habit or a lack of faith, which was certainly what my situation was, or as well, is it like something you need to do physically or personally to improve your life, but you've got to get rid of the old acquaintance that you keep holding on to?
Yeah.
So thematically, that's kind of how each of my essays are in the book. They're like a personal reflection and observation of things in my life, and it's very identifiable. And so from there, I wound up writing for Christian Blessings for about 5 years, and that was a blessing. And I kept writing for them each month, and then probably toward the end of 2016, I had gotten enough material together for a book, and I went into January 2017. I had about 35 of these short essays. Sarah and Diane, I didn't know what to do with them. And I had joined Fiverr. I'm sure you've heard of that.
Mm-hmm.
I joined Fiverr, and I just sent out a request. I said, well, can somebody help me like put this stuff together and edit it and maybe help me get it published? And so I sent out the request. I'll never forget, on a Friday night. And in my mind, I'm thinking, so I should hear back hopefully from somebody maybe 8 or 9 months, and maybe sometime in 2018 I'll get it done. Again, that's me thinking. That's me.
Oh
Sure.
my God.
That's me.
Yep.
And to my shock, I came home the next day, which was Saturday, opened up my Fiverr account, and I had like 32 people said they wanted to do this for me.
Yep.
Wow.
That was really frightening, because I'm like, okay, God, how am I going to sort through 32 people? First of all, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no
Totally.
idea what I'm doing. And so I wound up working with a lady in South Africa, and we did it through the internet, through technology, which continues to amaze me. And May of 2017, the first book debuted on Amazon. And I'll never forget, when I saw it on Amazon, I just stared at it. And I stared at it because I could not believe it had happened.
Yeah.
I just stared, and I thought, wow, God, this really did happen.
That's so cool.
I love
I
it.
remember, and part of the story I want to leave with our artist too is the fact that, number one, when God takes you to a new territory, it's going to be scary.
Yep.
It's going to be unfamiliar, but he's going to connect you with people who are going to get you to where you're going to go. And that was the case with this lady in South Africa. But as well, there's a dark side to that, because in the process of trying to get that first book out, I spoke with somebody locally just to kind of get some advice from them about becoming an author. It was the worst 15-minute conversation I ever had in my life.
Oh no.
Oh no.
This guy was negative,
Ugh.
telling me it was a waste of time. I'm going to have a garage full of books left over. Nobody's going to buy it. And why would I do it? And I remember I was very polite. And after 15 minutes of talking to him, I hung up the phone. I said, you know what? I don't know what his experience was. I can't attest to that. But I just said, I refuse to believe that God would bring me this far and have me stop.
Yep.
And so I'm saying that to say this: when we're going into a new arena, it's going to be challenging. But as well, there are going to be detractors who are going to try to keep you from doing what it is you've been called to do. I have no question in my mind, even with your podcast. As you went forward, people were thinking, well, you don't even know what a podcast is. How can you do it?
That's so true.
But at the same time, you said, this is something God's put on our heart to do. And you went forth and probably didn't know exactly what was going on. And here you are now doing podcasts and interviewing artists from all over the country, if not the world.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I think it's important that we keep in mind that God will equip you with what you need.
Yes.
He
Amen.
will connect you with the people that you need to be connected with to get you to the next level. But also be aware that the enemy is going to place people in your path who are going to try to discourage you and knock you off your path. That's just the whole process. Fair or unfair, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So released the first book in 2017, and dumb Alan, I told God, okay, God, this is the first book. We're through.
We're through.
We're done.
To my music, because that's really where my heart is. And I'm telling God all these plans, and at the end, he was like, no, we're not through.
Yep.
We're going to start book 2.
Nice.
And I thought, oh, man, how am I going to write a second book? And I said, God, I really don't want to write a second book. I want to do my music. And why do I argue with him?
I know, same.
Convince him that I want to do what I want to do when that's not his plan for me. And sometimes we are all guilty of, we're going to tell God what our plan is. He should approve of it. And God must have a great sense of humor because he listened to us. And he says, okay, now that you got that out of your system, here's what really happened.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, that's so true.
That's what happened with 2019. I did the second book called In the Spirit Intended. And I was blessed because that one actually was recognized as the best-selling book on Amazon.
Good.
Wow, congrats.
So I again was just floored by all of this happening. And I thought, okay, after book 2, maybe I can go back to my music again, God.
No.
So I got the third book. I'm hoping to get out of here soon, the next month or so, called Just a Closer Walk. If I were to explain and share with the audience what the titles mean, the first book called Here I Am, Lord, that's really the culmination of a battle that I was having with God. And what I mean by this is I'm telling God, I can't do this. Don't you have somebody else more qualified? I know somebody who would be way better at this than I am.
Right.
And that's not what I really want to do. And at some point, I just finally said, okay, here I am, Lord.
Good.
Sing.
Yeah.
Great title.
That's, I like to say I'm brilliant and came up with that, but I'm not that smart. Okay. So that's kind of how that got started. The second title called In the Spirit Intended, that one, Sarah and Diane, is really about the focus of that particular book. There's 2 meanings to the title In the Spirit Intended. The first one is what I'm sharing with you are personal reflections and observations of things that have happened in my life. And I would ask that you would receive them into your heart and into your spirit in the Spirit Intended. It's part 1. Part 2 is In the Spirit Intended means that whatever I'm sharing is coming from a very ordinary person. I'm not a prophet. I'm not a great minister or apostle or anything like that. I'm just Alan. And so I don't claim to be an expert. I've got more flaws than anybody I know. So whatever I'm sharing, know it's coming from my heart in the Spirit Intended. So don't make me out to be brilliant because I certainly am not that by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
Right.
And the third one is going to be called Just a Closer Walk because I'm at a point now I'll be 67 at the end of this month.
Happy
and
birthday.
So it's really about at this point in my life having a closer walk and developing more and more of a relationship with God. And that's really what the focus is. I think that at the end of the day, and this is just my personal opinion, you know, we can talk about all the different religions, which we always do, denominations, which we always do. But at the end of the day, it's about your relationship. What's the relationship you have with God?
Amen.
How are you improving that on a daily basis? How are you relating to the people that are part of your everyday walk? What are you modeling? You can't say one thing and do something different because the world's watching.
Right.
Yeah.
And our children, our grandchildren are watching. So that's what the third one really means, is that just a closer walk. And so I'm excited about that one. Never expected at the age of 60 to become a Christian author.
God is good.
And it also goes to show that age is not relevant to God.
That's true.
So true.
Here I'm at 67, getting ready to release a third book soon, and none of this was anything I had planned on doing after I retired. Never in my mind. Never.
Well,
That's incredible.
So, but you're also doing a podcast. Tell us a little bit about that. You're co-hosting?
I'm co-hosting a podcast, and I've been doing that for about 3 months with a lady, and her company is called Tribe Family Channel, and it's out of Las Vegas. So we have been doing that for about 3 months now. The program that I co-host is called The Recipe for Literacy in the Black Community. And so what we have been doing is we've been talking to different people from the Black community who have been teachers, administrators. They have been hip hop artists who are doing things with their communities, education. We've also talked to inventors.
Wow.
And just a really positive type of podcast that we do about every week or so. And it's not necessarily geared towards people of color. Those are the people that we're interviewing, but the content and the reflections you're getting from our guests can apply across all ethnic groups. I was talking with a guy probably about 3 weeks ago. His name is Harold Parker Jr. And he's actually an inventor out of South Carolina, a young Black man. I say young because he's 40 and I'm 67. But anyway, he is actually an inventor, and he has invented an electronic license plate. Now,
how cool.
It's really cool, Sarah. When you see it, you can Google him. His name is Harold Parker.
Okay.
And it's designed where you're going down the road and all your information that normally you would have to get, or someone was trying to, if the officer pulled you over or whatever, they can get it all electronically off the license plate.
Wow.
And this guy is so deep that I think he and his brother, when they were 7, took a battery out of a tractor because they lived in the farm area, and they created a go-kart of some sort at 7 years old using a battery. I'm like,
that is so impressive.
That is. Wow.
Way over my head. I'm
yeah,
like, what
same.
are you talking about? At 7?
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
7, he and his brother built their own tree house.
Yeah.
But we've been talking to people like that for about 3 or 4 months, and it's been fascinating.
Oh, I bet.
People from the hip hop community, we've been talking with them about the influence of hip hop, how they're trying to use it to educate and to encourage young students to be engaged in the classroom, how it can add on to what they're learning in the classroom has been very powerful and very positive.
Mm-hmm.
And so
that's awesome.
After about 4 months, and I'm not sure how I got started on doing that, but I'm loving it. And then tomorrow night, there's actually an event I'm going to be the moderator for. It's called the Men of Honor Roundtable Discussion. And it's going to be a part of the Tribe Family Channel presentation. There'll be information on it probably tomorrow through Facebook. But there'll be about 3 or 4 of us just sitting down talking as men about different issues and things of that nature. We did one of these before where we talked about, in particular, the issues of men's health. And we talked about, and being transparent, Sarah and Diane, we talked about, okay, how do we as men break this cycle of, well, I'm not going to go to the doctor because there's nothing wrong with me syndrome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's really hard for men to deal with.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we discussed it. And I shared with the gentleman about 3 months ago, I had a friend of mine who held on to this belief. I'm not going to go to the doctor because it makes me feel like I'm weak. By the time he finally went to emergency, they told him it was too late.
Oh, no.
And he wound up passing away maybe about 3 weeks later.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It shook me to the core because I thought to myself, this is really symptomatic of a mindset that men, period, regardless of the color of your skin, we have got to break that cycle, because how many men have passed on? And what men don't realize in some cases is, if you pass away or you're incapacitated, it's not just you're impacting.
Oh,
Right.
yes.
It's your family and the collateral damage that you create because of what you allowed to happen because you wouldn't go to the doctor. So we openly and candidly talk about that. And so I can say that, I have been guilty of that. It nearly cost me my life 20 years ago because of cancer.
Oh, wow.
Because I wouldn't go to the doctor, just being hard-headed and being stupid.
Yeah.
And so we talk about, how do we break that cycle? Because we can't raise another generation to follow in our footsteps.
Right.
If we keep doing the same thing, we're going to keep getting the same result.
Absolutely.
Well, that will be an interesting conversation. Probably the most famous story I've heard on that topic, and I don't know if you've heard this one or not, is Jim Henson, the creator of the
Sesame Street.
the Muppets.
Or the Muppets.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I don't know if you want to check that out and Google it, but he just had the flu, but he wouldn't go to the doctor.
Yeah.
What a national treasure for our, for America. He was so talented and so creative and so many things, that he created, and he just wouldn't go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Oh, it makes me so sad.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to check that out or not, but
I will. And I've heard stories like that, and I keep thinking to myself, when are we as men going to wake up?
yeah. Oh,
This
Well,
is not the way to do it.
yeah. You'll be a huge blessing tomorrow night. That'll be great.
Oh, for sure. Well, something you mentioned earlier that I want to touch on for our listeners, because it was really encouraging to me. I felt encouragement by it. So I just want to highlight it real quick in case it got lost in the really incredible story you were telling. And that is that you talked about how your work and your passion for music and being a lyricist. I wish I would have introduced you as a lyricist as well, because that's so cool.
Yeah.
But how all of that cultivated this gift that you're now using as an author. And I think that it's just so important for people to know that happens, and God is working in all of those things.
Yes.
I had no idea I was going to be a video editor.
Oh, true.
You know what I mean? But all of the work that I'd done in acting and writing and all that stuff in my high school years created this opportunity for me to be an editor. You just never know.
You don't, because what you perceive as being a one-off, if we can describe it that way.
Sure.
In our humanists, we're going to see, and I saw, being the lyricist as a one-off, that's it. No concept of how it created a bridge to me becoming an author.
Yep.
Yes.
And so in our humanists, we're going to think in limited parameters as a rule, because we think it's here. There's no connection over to the other side.
Right.
All that time, whether we realize it or not, God is putting in place that foundation for us to cross over that bridge into a whole nother area. And I see that now. I'm still mystified by how this is continuing to happen.
Yeah.
I don't understand it, but you know what, Sarah and Diane, I'm coming to realize at my old age, sometimes stop trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah, that's
You need to learn that lesson.
Yeah.
Just go with it. I'm getting myself grayer than I am, losing more hair than I already have, and I'm thinking, why am I doing this to myself?
Yeah.
I'm never
Totally.
going to figure out why God decided to do this. Just go with it and make my life more peaceful.
Yeah.
Well, and God is so good. He's lining it up for you. So that's great.
And I'm just like, okay, so now with the podcast and things like that, I don't know why. I'm just going to do it.
Well, you also have a radio show. What are you doing with that?
Well, this is a show called AJDW Conversation. And a friend of mine about a year and a half ago reached out to me and he says, hey, I want to do a radio program with four of us, four African American men from four different backgrounds religiously. Let's come together and let's just talk about different topics. Now, the truth of the matter is, if we're talking in denominational terms, 20 years ago, this could not happen. One guy is from the apostolic background, another guy is Baptist, another gentleman grew up in the Church of God in Christ, and I came up in the United Methodist faith. So 20 years ago, Sarah and Diane, this could not happen where four men of four diverse backgrounds could come together and talk.
Yeah.
Without telling each other they're going to wind up in a place hotter than July.
Right.
I mean, let's just be real. That's how we have done it. And so we've come together over a year and a half, and we would talk. We don't always agree because we have our different backgrounds and different viewpoints. But we've connected because of the respect we have for each other and the love we have for each other. And it comes across in our broadcasts each week. We broadcast here on a radio station, KCRO, which is 660 AM in Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay.
And the program is called AJDW Conversation.
Yeah.
It comes on 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, and they can listen to it on kcro.com on the website.
Great.
It's four guys. It's like you listen to four guys who are watching a sporting event or something, or four guys in a barbershop, just going back and forth with different opinions, different thoughts. We make fun of each other. We rip on each other.
Yes.
That's what guys do. That's
That's
guys
right.
do.
That's funny.
It's been fantastic, and we've actually gotten it out there in the podcast world, and I think now there's about 80,000 people that have listened to the podcast in the last year and a half or so, which is,
Wow.
I don't know how that works. All I know is I show up each Monday that we record and just say what I need to say.
That's amazing.
That's great.
It's God, I
And
tell you.
another thing too, and this is another thing God has put me into, we have to do a closing each week to close out. And so the guy said, okay, Alan, you're the writer, so you got to come up with a closing script for each week. I was like, oh my goodness, are you kidding me? And I was sweating bullets. I was like, ooh, this is tough. And so my first 2 weeks, I just pulled something off the internet to use it to close the show. But then I said, you know what? After the first 2 weeks, I said, no, that's lazy. That's not a challenge.
Yeah.
I've got to push myself to come up with something each week that's tied to our theme that's going to close out the show and kind of put it in a nice bow and close.
Yeah.
Nice.
I said, you know what, God, we need to do this. Now I'm getting bold, like I know.
Yeah.
I said, God, we got to do this thing, okay? And so I've been writing the closing theme now for about a year or so, year and a half. Our topic, like for tomorrow, I can't remember what it is because we've done so many shows, but anyway, we're doing a program on April 10th called, I think, Living Under Pressure.
Okay.
So I spent yesterday at my part-time job between phone calls writing up a closing script for the program.
Oh, good.
And I love the challenge.
That's
Love
awesome.
That is great.
You're using those talents and gifts in so many different ways.
I am. I don't know what I'm doing half the time, but I try to stop.
That's so funny.
Sarah. Just go with it. So that's kind of where I'm at now.
I love that. Well, so our podcast is all about talents and gifts, and we think and we believe that God has equipped us each with individual talents and gifts for us to use to do the good works that He has set out in advance for us to do, and we believe that we are collaborating with Him on what we call, and what we've stolen sort of from N.T. Wright, but what we call a brick. So we each have a brick that we're building in collaboration with God that He'll use as He builds His kingdom. Mm-hmm. And so obviously there's so many different ways, and you're just talking in the last few years as far as the writing and the podcast and the radio show goes, but I'm sure that there's been so many other things prior to that. But talk to us a little bit about your talents and your gifts and how you see God using those to impact, the world and even just in your sphere.
Well, my career was in higher education. I worked at a university here in my city, and I worked with teacher education students. as an academic advisor in recruiting and in retention. And I did that for about 14 years or so. And so for the audience, academic advising is more than just you come in, you see an advisor, and they give you a schedule, and that's what you do. That doesn't even begin to describe what I was doing for those 14 years, because I would literally take students from the time they were freshmen until the day they walked across the stage and graduated, trying to get them through an academic program, becoming a mentor, becoming a father figure, becoming a motivator, becoming a disciplinarian at times, and wearing all kind of different hats. I can remember students would come in, they'd be upset, and well, I'm mad, and I don't like you, and you're really mean to me, and I don't want to ever see you again. Okay. And then the next day they'll come in and bring me a cupcake and say, you know what, you're really cool. I do like you. Okay, yeah, that's fine. And I can remember talking with students and saying, okay, I know this is a challenge. It's supposed to be. We're not going to make it easy, but I don't want you to give up. I remember one student, and this really hit my heart. She started as a freshman, Sarah and Diane, and we were talking about her first semester class as a freshman. And her body language was not good, and she was like, well, I probably won't be here that long anyway, because my mother says I'm too dumb to be in college anyway, and I'll flunk out.
Oh, no.
And I stopped what we were doing, and I told her point blank, I put my pen down, I said, you know what? As long as you're at this university and I'm your advisor, don't you ever say that to me again. I said, if you made it to this level, you are not stupid.
Yeah.
And you are not going to fail. And you know what? I'm going to hound you like a dog on a bone.
That's right.
Make sure you're doing well in your classes. And she looked at me and she said, are you serious? I said, I've never been more serious in my life. Because I told her I will never accept you thinking that you are dumb.
Yeah.
I don't know. Nobody can tell you that, even if it's your mother. God didn't put you on this planet for somebody to tear you down and you accept it.
Yeah.
So in a unique way, my time there at the university became a ministry of sort, because I worked with my students in different areas like that. I had one student come in one time. I came in from getting some water, and there was sitting in the chair by my desk, and she was in tears.
Oh.
I'm like, okay, what's wrong? She said, I don't want to be a teacher anymore. I said, okay, well, let's talk about this. She said, well, I want to do something else, but I figured you would be mad at me. I said, no, this isn't about me. I want you to find your passion and to follow your dream. So what is it that we need to do for you to recognize what it is you want to do? And she said, I really want to go in athletic training. I said, okay, let's make this happen. And she smiled and she said, but you're not going to be mad. I said, it's not about me. I want you to be happy. I want you to walk across that stage knowing that you fulfilled your dream. It's not going to be easy, but this is what I want from you. It's not about me, it's about you. And she was just as happy as she could be. She wound up transferring to another college, but she was happy. So I had multiple conversations with my students like that, because I felt like if God placed me in that position and I wasn't as qualified as other people, but he qualified me to be there, he put me there for a purpose and for a season. So I had, in essence, a legacy responsibility to do the best I could for my students, because somebody did it for me when I was in college.
Yeah.
I had a spiritual responsibility, because if God placed me there, it was my responsibility to do what I can to get them to the point where they could graduate.
Man,
That's great.
So you were such an encourager, I can tell.
I was thinking encouragement
yeah,
too.
probably. And faithfulness. I can hear throughout your story how God has thrown you curveballs, so to speak, and you're just like, all right, well, let's go. So
Let's persevere.
Yeah.
Well, so this has just been so enlightening. How can folks get in contact with you?
They can reach me on my website.
Okay.
AlanTBlack.com.
All right.
Alan is ALANTBLACK.com.
Great.
I'm on Instagram on Alan T Black 55. That's the year I was born.
Okay.
I'm not going to pretend like I know what I'm doing on Instagram because I don't.
Okay.
But it's a good way to connect with you. It's a good way to connect with you.
And they can also go to Facebook and just put in Alan Black, Omaha, Nebraska, and there's information there about me. And I will try to respond.
That would be great.
The other thing that's been strange is now I'm become a consultant for other people who want to write books. And
Yay.
I try to help them. In fact, I'm working with some young ladies who are really dynamic. Still haven't figured out what they want to do with me being involved with this, but I don't know anyway. But we're going to start a group in the summer, having a meeting where we're going to try to encourage people who want to be an author and kind of meet as a group collectively to see what we can do to encourage them to write their book.
Yes.
So I'm taking on that project hopefully sometime this summer
Yay.
as well. So
All right. Well, good.
That is fantastic. Oh my gosh, I love that. I mean, that's just another example of the encouragement that you're probably giving to those.
Oh, totally.
Those
You're really
authors.
investing in them. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it has been absolutely delightful to meet you, to hear your story, to hear how faithful God has been with all of the different twists and turns.
Yeah.
And, just love this. This has been so encouraging to us. So thank you so much for your time.
thank you again. I cannot express how much of an honor it is to be with two dynamic ladies.
Thank you.
I want to encourage you with the podcast that you guys are doing to keep doing what you're doing because you're giving authors a platform to express themselves and to share their story. And whether you realize it or not, Sarah and Diane, you're encouraging people to have the opportunity to step out on faith and then share their story, because to share your story makes you vulnerable.
Yes.
And most people don't want to do that as a rule. The things I've shared and the struggles and everything, 20, 25 years ago, I wouldn't have said these things.
Right.
Because of the man code where you just don't talk about these kind of things, which is dumb. I've already told you that. But this is what's great about your podcast is you're giving people a platform to share what it is that they have done. And if by chance we touch the heart of somebody else,
Yes.
it's not us, it's you, the two of you, who provided the platform for us to do so in the manner that we do.
Well, we
That is
definitely
so
appreciate.
nice.
Yeah, we appreciate that. But just from your experience on the radio and on the podcast, there's times when we're just kind of here and God's doing some stuff, and we just want to be there for it, right?
Yeah.
we want to be witnesses to it. So, again, thank you so very much.
Thank you. And have a great rest of your weekend.
You guys take care. Thank you for everything.
Thank
God bless.
you.
You too. Bye-bye.
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 For more information on Project Brickworks, visit us online at projectbrickworks.org. Subscribe to our newsletter or text BRICK to 55498 to get the latest news and updates. We love y'all. Be blessed, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.